What's up, everybody? Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everyone is doing well. If my memory serves me, up to over 4,700 subscribers. I appreciate it. And to the 90% of you who are still not subscribed, watching, viewing this content, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And certainly the likes, the clicking on the like button doesn't cost you anything. And the dislikes don't cost you anything either. Either. Tomato, tomato. All right, so we're going to get into it here. So we're going to have a discussion. It's going to raise some eyebrows within the red pill manosphere space, but you know I don't care. So we're going to talk about step parents, right? And I'm very much aware of the concepts of becoming a step parent, what it takes, the controversies around it, particularly now, raising another man's child and not seeming to be not worth it to some people, individuals. Yet and still, there are people who want to embark on that path. They want to become step parents to someone. And listen, there's a lot of hats off that have to be given to those who want to take on that duty and that responsibility, because I know that there's a lot of people who are who grow up to be very thankful for the step parents that they have, and all that. Listen, I did it. I have a couple of step kids, and still, not as close as I would like to be, but still fairly close. And it matters. One of them I still call up now and then. We play video games together every now and then. So it's a decent relationship. So it's an honorable thing. So if you want to go down that career path or down that path, as anything else, I'd say weigh the pros and cons, look at the consequences, look at what could go wrong, this, that, and the other. And you also have to look at what goes right. Look at what goes wrong, look at what goes right and wrong, weigh the pros and cons, and make the best decision for you, for your family. If you met the love of your life, male or female, you met the love of your life, and everything is perfect, and they got a step kid, you got to weigh all that and determine whether it's best for you. All right, so let's get into it. Some things I just want you to consider. As in all my content, I'm not telling anybody what to do. Well, sometimes I am. Sometimes I am telling you what to do. But I want you to weigh the pros and cons, and I want to give you critical ideas to think about. I want you to become critical thinkers. I stress this all the time when I'm teaching my collegiate courses. Become critical thinkers. Don't just believe me because I'm Professor so-and-so, because whatever. No, you got to do your research, and you should be able to give facts, data, and statistics, right? They say you should look at something from 10 different angles. I've heard 5. I would say minimum 3, right? Look at the pros, the cons, and then try to look at something within the middle, right? So, but if you want to look at more, explore more ideas, do research, read articles that you don't agree with so you can understand at least their point of view. That's imperative about learning about anything in life. Read the stuff you agree with, read the stuff that you don't agree with, watch the stuff you agree with, watch the stuff you don't agree with, and then try to watch something that's down the middle and all that. So, all right, so let's get into it. Step parents. Things you got to consider: your jobs, duties, responsibilities. Understand that when and if you decide to get married or even cohabitate, or whatever you're going to call step parents, I'm considering that marriage and or cohabitating. I'm going to put the same thing down with cohabitation. Long-term cohabitation with the intention of marriage, intention that this is going someplace. I'm not talking about people who couch surfing or hobosexuals. A hobosexual is a person who goes from one place to another, doesn't have any place to stay, doesn't have any means of income for himself, so therefore he's living with some woman, and then he's got to take care of the kids. It's a consequence of taking care of doing all that, of living there. That is not a step parent, right? And you ladies out there, stop calling guys like that stepdaddies and stuff. They're not a stepdaddy. They're just some dude, some N-word some ninja that you're shacking with for a little while, and you need a built-in babysitter. That's what he is. So, knock all that off. All right, so you got a long-term relationship and or marriage, right? So this is going someplace. You've had these different types of conversations about relationships. Now you got to have the conversation about what it's going to look like when you are living together. And this is I'm going to be kind of crossing up in between here as far as whether both of you had kids, blended families, or if you are one person has a kid and you don't, or or somebody's moving in with you and you have a kid, you want to know what to do, how to act, questions to ask, etc., etc. So, step parents. You gotta have the conversation about how the kids are going to be raised. You gotta have the conversation about how the kids are going to be raised. You guys go to church? Do you believe in corporal punishment, aka spankings, beatings? Well, not beatings, spankings, right? Pats on a behind. Do you believe in that as your own parental skills? Do you believe that's going to be beneficial, or should you have the right to discipline somebody else's kid? And this is a big sticking point for the manosphere people and the red pill men, is that, one of the reasons they're advising men not to become step parents anymore is because they no longer have the right to discipline physically the children. And that's a deal breaker to them, right? If I can't discipline the people that are in my home, remember what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, cohabitation, equal or majority paying of the bills, right? Not just a built-in babysitter, somebody doesn't have a place to live. But they're advising the men not to do that because they don't want anybody living in their house who doesn't have, when they don't have the authority over that person. That's what they're talking about. So you gotta have that conversation. How we discipline it? We put hands on people, hands on kids, use of belts, pats on the back, on the butt, and don't come in the comment section talking about this, that, and the other. I know the data about spankings and all that. I'm not talking about it, but people still do it, so you gotta have the conversation. Okay, where are we going to school at? Your kids go to private school now. I got my kids all of our kids going to private school. We all going to foot this bill. Who's paying for groceries? The grocery bill is going to increase. What do I get for increasing my financial responsibilities about this kid? What do I get for that? And I'm getting a lot of pushback about transactional relationships and everything. Every single relationship that is on this planet Earth is transactional, right? And no matter how much you want to be altruistic, there's going to be a transaction, even if it's just to feed your own reward system. I remember when I was studying for my bachelor's degree, we had this discussion. The only reason that discussion about altruism and whether there's really such thing as true altruism is because the only reason that conversation ended is because the semester was over. it was time to move on, right? Because people are going back and forth. So I don't want to have that discussion. Believe me, you can't take your car to a mechanic and he's just going to do it just for free. Even if he does it for free, just like, hit me next time. The minimum, whether it could be unspoken, is that he wants you to give his business to somebody else. Okay, I don't want to belabor that point. So we got to talk about all that. Got to have conversations about discipline, education, how's that going to go? We got to, is the kid, how much authority does the man have? Does he have the authority to pick up the kids? And I'm saying man, but this goes both ways, obviously. Does a man have ability and authority to go to school and pick up your kid when they're sick, injured, etc.? So you gotta. It may seem unnecessary, but these are conversations you have to have. You should be having these type of conversations. I expect you to do this. Here's what I want to do, right? Even if the other parent is still in the picture, that person, that step parent who is living in the home still needs to have some semblance of authority and responsibility. They really do. Even if the kid is sick at school and you can call in the non-custodial parent to go pick them up because you're at work, even if you can, that non-custodial parent might be sick, might not be able to do it. They might be at work, so that person's there in your home, you got to give them a certain level of authority, right? And this idea that the ladies are putting in their data, in their profile, dating app profiles, I'm a single mom and you just got to know this and my kids are always going to come first. I say to anyone who's responding like that, to anyone who would respond, if you choose to respond, is they should come first. And I am not going to stand in your way about them coming first. I'm going to make sure that they come in first, second, third, and fourth, right? So I'm not going to deal with any person who's talking like that. I'm not going to deal with that, right? Strong, independent women, I want to be needed. So strong, independent women, forget all that, right? Okay. What else you got to talk about? You got to talk about, making sure that your kids have a certain level of healthy respect. And yes, a lot of times healthy respect needs to be earned, particularly if the child has a strong presence with the other parent. And I would highly suggest a conversation be had with the other parent if they're still around and available and willing to listen and not bitter and all this kind of stuff. If you can have a conversation saying, listen, I'm looking to get married, and I would appreciate it if you would have a conversation letting them know that have a conversation with our child to let them know that I would appreciate it if they would give respect, if the child would give respect towards this new person in my life. I don't want to hear any I'm not your daddy and all this kind of stuff, right? You gotta, sometimes some of that stuff's got to be ironed out too. Listen, I'm getting married again. The situation between us is over. I don't want you coming around. This, that, and the other, right? You got to have that conversation. You got to put people into place. Man, females, ladies have to put the men, ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands in their place, and the men have to do the same thing with the women, right? Right? This whole vindictive, I'm gonna hold. You got this new husband, and so I'm not gonna let new husband, new wife. I'm not gonna let you see the kids. You gotta iron all that out. Don't bring anyone into your relationship if it's dysfunctional. And I recognize that people will always act dysfunctional. Well, not always, but people will act dysfunctional in order to be controlling. The more I control you, see, this is why I don't go out. This is why I don't go out. This is why I don't go out. It's always traffic. I mean, it's crazy. So, you gotta handle all that. Don't bring anybody into your dysfunctional relationship. And this is another reason why men are checking out. Ladies with this dysfunctional, in particular. I mean, it goes both ways. I'm not saying that, right? I know. Listen, I was a police officer. I know some dysfunctional men, and I saw the stuff that they were doing. So I'm not trying to pick on anyone either way, but a lot of times it's the ladies in particular that will hold the children away from the parents because somebody else is getting married or moving on or whatever. Don't bring anybody into that dysfunction. If you got to live by yourself, you got to just do it, you and your kid or kids, till you can handle your situation. And, the big L, it's not fair that somebody would try to hold me hostage. I want to move on. I want a life. I don't want to be old and crusty when I start dating again. I understand, but it's not fair to bring anybody into that. And this is why, again, the red pill men are telling people to check out of that. Why would you deal with that? Just deal with somebody with no kids. So ladies have to collectively, and the courts are doing a terrible job at that's what I'm saying. The ladies collectively have to say enough of this foolishness, just holding kids hostage. You have to change all that. You have to change it. You have to change the way we're thinking, the way that we're raising our children, right? Again, it comes down to what I talked about before: penalties, accountability, right? If you are holding your children hostage, right, you can't. It used to be you couldn't sing in a choir. You can't come to this barbershop. You can't come to this nail salon. You can't join this this sorority, right? You can't join this black teachers union because you're acting stupid. And you think it's really just lower class people. It's not all. I'm telling you as somebody who's seen it, it's not always lower class people. I'm telling you that. So you got to watch on it. You got to have these conversations. These are things you really have to think about when you're entering into these types of relationships. What else do you got to think about, right? How are we going to raise money? Where we're going to live? Again, authority. How the children are going to treat each other. Blending the kids, right? Do you have kids? Or I have kids? Do we all have these kids? Making sure that they get along. An important aspect a lot of times people forget is making sure that kids from these families are not influencing the children. Not only got to worry about the parents influencing the children, trying to play them as pawns, but sometimes you could have strong parents or aunties and stuff that are trying to get in the mix and trying to stick their nose in the stuff. That's not cool either. You gotta step all that aside. When you gotta set all that aside, and when you enter into a relationship, it has to be you and him, or you and she, or whatever, and it's got to be y'all against the world. And you got to understand that you have to put aside you have to put aside family and responsibilities and stuff, right? Years ago, there was a question that was on the internet. It was a picture, you know, I can't find it anymore, but it was a question that was said, you know, you at your cousin's house for Thanksgiving, or you know, your whatever, your family's house for Thanksgiving, and it was a woman. They were asking a woman this, right? She gets into your husband or your boyfriend, but let's just say husband. Keep it simple. Your husband gets in an argument with your father, and your husband says, "Let's go." Are you going? This is something you got to figure out. This is something you got to figure out. And the whatever allegiance that you have, and both parties should know this. You got to ask yourself this, right? Put this hypothetical to them, right? If you're a woman, hey baby, I'm at your family's house. I'm at your mama's house for Thanksgiving. I get into an argument with your mama, and I tell you I want to leave. Are we leaving or are we staying? Ask them. Now, in context with the children and the family and the blended family, it's got to be the same answer. Hopefully, it's a positive answer, and it's got to be the same answer, right? And so the children should not come in between them, right? So if one thing that I think that marriage has lost, or there's a lot of things that marriage has lost, but is the idea that the children have to come second to the marriage. That seems so unpopular. I know that people are going to, blast. It seems like a relic from the past, because we live in this temporal society that says that everything is temporary, everything is, fleeting. The only things that are certain are family, and all this, and that gives an unconscious out to marriage. It gives an unconscious out to it. It gives an unconscious. We live in a society that gives an unconscious out, and as long as marriage is on the table, as long as the D word is on the table, as long as it's on the table, it's always right. It's like this car I'm sitting in, right? It's always in the backseat. That there's a spare, just in case I got a flat. While unpopular to talk about in the black tradition, black culture, when Christopher Columbus and all these different people, and if I was more astute, I would know, probably other individuals as well. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that all these different individuals, what is going on? All these different individuals, when they got out the boats and stuff, right? They chopped up the wood from the boats and said there was no turning back. There's no turning back. That's got to be the way that it's got to be. That's got to be the way it's got to be. And you're speaking to someone who wishes, someone speaking to you, who wishes that I fought harder for my marriage. I said it before in another. I wish I would have fought harder. I wish I did. I wish I did. It's unfortunate, but we live and we learn and we try to make the best of our situations. But and you have to put your marriage above everything else. When people don't want to, what's going on? Is there a traffic jam or traffic accident or what? When people don't want to put their marriage as the precipice in their life, right? When people are willing to pursue careers and don't want to change jobs and don't want to change cities, the most important thing has got to be your family. It's got to be your family and your marriage. That has to be the way that it is. You have to right. There is no space. You have to assume and judge and think that there is no backup. There is no spare tire. There is no AAA that you can call if you get on the side of the road. This is it. It's me and you. It's me and you. I think if a lot more people really enter that, and they made divorce so too easy. Sometimes you don't even have to go to court. You can file online, right? We just expedite everything, and that makes it easy just to give up. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's also unfortunate that I'm stuck in traffic and I don't know why. So So these are things you have to think about, right? Marriage, marriage, primary, kids, custody arrangements, and if you're, I'm going to speak specifically about specifically, right? I always teach people about that. Specifically, I'm going to speak oceanally about what it takes for men in particular, because obviously I'm a man. I raised stepkids, and when I was 14, my mother, she got married, and I didn't have. You're a kid, right? You don't have the greatest respect for whatever, but that's another story for another time. He's gone now, so. But and we made peace, so it's don't think I'm spitting anything I don't understand. So you have to as a father, right? You have to step in and be a father figure. Everything that you're going to do is going to be an example. If you're a father figure, even if you don't have any kids, you step into somebody's life who has children, you're going to be an example. No matter what age you are, no matter what age the children are, you're going to be an example. They're either going to hate you or love you initially, and you can win them over. You can win them over by kindness. It's all going to be a dynamic about how involved the other parent is and all that. How much negativity they're putting in people's brains and all that kind of stuff. So, but you can win them over. You can win them over. So you have to be a man of your word. Hold fast your integrity. If she has little girls, don't you put your hands on those little girls. I wouldn't even physically discipline a little girl. I wouldn't even do that in this day and this time. I wouldn't even do it. It's a shame that we live in a time where we have to be very selective, and I'm assuming that there has been a selective vetting process that has gone on. See my other video about that. Do your background checks, hire a private investigator, do what you have to do in order to make sure that this person is on the up and up, particularly with your little girl. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. You even got to be careful with the boys now too, but make sure you do your due diligence. So make sure you do that, right? And so you got to be prepared as a man to teach this kid how to shave, take them to baseball practice, let them be men, right? I know that the women will, and this is where a lot of women have to. I got a video coming up about this, but you have to let a man raise a man. And if you selected a man who is you deem worthy to be a husband and you have children, then you have deemed him worthy to be a father. And so if you have deemed him worthy by fiat, if you have deemed him worthy to be a husband and be a father figure to your children, then you have to let him do that. If you want to take him to games, jiu-jitsu, boxing, football practice, and you're scared and you should never ever pull the "it's my child" card, because that shows a level of immaturity to you on your part, and it tells him that you are never really committed to him. It tells him that you're never really committed to him. That child is no longer just your child or the other person's child. But when you marry him, you start sliding rings, and everybody, he's got a suit on at the wedding, the reception. The child I'm talking about, the children, the little girl in her dress, whatever you got going on, however you decide to do it, whatever ceremony practice you want to do, and they are now their responsibility. So you should never ever pull that "it's my child." This is another reason why step parentage is being so heavily frowned upon in the red pill space and manosphere space. And I can't disagree with any of that. Listen, I can say one thing about the ladies that I were with. They didn't pull any of that. Everything I'm talking about, they were great. The families on the other side, there was none of that. But I've seen it. I've been to, listen, all the domestic calls I've seen it. So you got to be very, very careful about that type of thing. This is going on for 24 minutes. There's so much more I could say about being a step parent, but I want to open us up just, or kind of finish this off a bit about talking about being communicative and thinking about every possible thing. Men, you need to be a father figure. Teach them how to drive. Teach them how to shave. Take the little girl out on dates, like I talked about what I used to do with my daughter. Take them out on dates. This is how men treat, right? It's daddy-daughter day. Even if it's not your daughter, it's daddy-daughter day. And if your wife is not good with that, then if she's not good with that, and if a lady, you're watching that and you can't ever imagine the man that you're going to marry ever taking your daughter out on a daddy-daughter day date, if you have that inkling in the back of your mind, why are you marrying this dude? He needs to show her how to treat her. Well, I shouldn't be sitting there. There's no reason ever for that. You got a spare tire in the back. You've got to be fully committed to him and to trust him and to love him. One of the worst things I've ever had. Here's another consequence of feminism that really just irks me to no extent. Do we all got to get over? What is up with this? Here's one thing that really, really bothers me to no end is what feminism did to relationships. What feminism did to relationships. This hookup culture, this culture of ladies, disengaging themselves from their feelings and from their emotions. And shout out to all the ladies who are in my comment section, because you guys really give me a lot of good feelings, I guess. Because you're all saying, listen, I can't sleep with guys on the first date or 3 weeks or whatever. I got to get to know someone. And this, listen, that's why I said I don't understand hookup culture, from the extent that physically, emotionally, women need this connection in order to get off. And when you don't have that, right, how are you getting off? Right? I don't understand how that, right? So it's really, it seems to me just an ego thing. It seems to me like a broken person. You're broken. If you're doing that, you're just sleeping with random dudes. Your body counts in the triple digits, even double digits, really, right? Right? You're just a broken individual. Just call it, you are a broken person. You're a broken person, and you don't know how to, properly love, and how anybody should properly love you. And so what hookup culture did is it disaffected you from your emotions and from your relationship. And the proper relationship that people would have with their children and with their loved ones. You gotta be kidding me. Yada, yada, yada. So, I went off on a tangent there. I forgot what my point was going to be. But anyway, so you got to really kind of watch it, right? Your bonding stuff. And when that's broken, man, it's difficult to bring that back. All right, I went off on a rant there, and I forgot what I was going to say. But I think what I was going to say is that what hookup culture did was it disentangled relationships and love and relationships. And so now it's so easy just to get up and go. And you don't have to invest in anything. There's no need to, you don't have to invest, right? There's no need for a man. There's no need for relationships, right? You can just do your own thing. And I think that has been a grand disservice to a lot of ladies. So that's what I think I was going to say. I went off on a tangent there. But anyway, I'll finish this off. Listen, you got to really be there for that person. You got to have these, and a couple of coming together, you got to have conversations about everything. Teaching my kids how to shave, to ride bikes, to walk, to how we're going to handle Christmas gifts. I personally don't like, if it's Christmas and another kid's family is buying them Christmas gifts and all that, right? Just for their kid, right? I got a kid, you got a kid, and that other kid's family brings a bunch of gifts for my kid and don't bring it. I don't think that's right. This is 2 kids in this house, right? And I'm not talking about for, celebratory type of things like birthdays or whatever, right? Of course in that situation, right? But just that kind of selfishness, man, that bothers me. And I couldn't deal with that, right? Because this family is one. So this is the way we're gonna treat. If my kid gets an A, right? and your kid gets an A, and your kid's family's bringing all these kids dollars and $5 and $10 for every A, X, Y, and Z. We all got to do it. You got to give my kids $5 too. That's where I run my house. And that's a conversation you got to have. You don't believe in that? Okay, whatever. As long as you guys are on one accord. Again, all this type of stuff really has to be worked out. And you have to be dedicated and committed. The step parent has to be dedicated and committed to treating that child as you would your own. As you would your own. I was very much aware that children undergo a lot of, if you get together, right, and a new child is born, the first child who was a parent, who was only the child of one parent, may feel ostracized and isolated, right? So what I did was, when my son was born, I bought my, his bigger brother a shirt that said, "I'm the big brother." He was so proud that he wore it every day. It's little stuff like that. You got to do little stuff like that. So, you got to think of these things. You got to be there for each other. You got to have the conversations. They're tough conversations, but if you can talk about everything else, so you got to have those conversations about connections, and you got to make sure that everybody is in tune with each other and all that. So, I hope that I said something that is really going to be beneficial to you all. And I want you guys to think about everything that's going to come up in life. You got to have this mindset that says we are going to do this together as a team. And I think that feminism a lot of times has broken that connection that ladies have with that. And you got to get it back. It's not it's not unretrievable. It's definitely can be reignited. I'm not convinced that we can never get back there, but I think that this culture that we live in, it just makes it too easy. It just makes it too easy to give up. It's too easy. We live in a world that is just too easy. In fact, as I talked about in other episodes, right? It's too easy, right? This mouse utopia that we're living in. It's too easy. It's too easy to get divorced with microwave culture, right? Everything's at an instant. This internet age, everything's at our fingertips. It's too easy, and therefore we don't have kids, right? But the harder things were, when we were poorer, we had a bunch of kids, and we stayed together. That's another conversation about why nobody wants to stay together and all that kind of stuff. So maybe one day I'll talk about that. I'll get really personal and talk about that. But maybe. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions, right? Is there anything I missed? Or is there anything that you think that you got to have a conversation about? Are you a step parent? Would you think about being a step parent? Were you a step parent before and it didn't work out? But, would you do it again? Just kind of throw it all out there. What's going on with this, right? Is it worth it? And what do you think about the men within the red pill space who are saying, don't do it? Are they giving bad advice? Or are they messing up the community, right? Because we need good, strong men to step up. And again, if they're going to step up, you got to give them something to step up to. They got to have full authority. They got to have full, not 99%. They got to have full authority over the child. And if you're hemming and hawing about that, and I can understand that this would be tough for ladies, because you're talking about giving all it, depending on what your philosophy is about male leadership and all that, but you got to give all this male leadership to this man. Can you give over your children, provided there's seeing how everything goes within another other parent? But could you give that authority? Could you trust him that much? And if you can't, why are you getting married? I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but I'm asking you why. And if you sense that as a man, why would you? I wouldn't enter any contract if after all these different points that I thought of and that you can think of, that you want to talk about and you have conversations about. Can I do this? Can I do that? Where are we about this? How's the medical insurance going to work? How's the discipline going to work? After you've ironed out all that, if there's a couple, maybe you've had 15 points you want to be really sure about, and you only got 13 of them. Man, are these yellow flags, right? On my other shows, are these yellow flags? So you got to really, really consider all that before you embark on this journey that we call stepfathers, step parents. So I hope that I said something that was enlightening, gave you guys something at least to think about, and all that. So, adoption. I mean, adoption. You got to think about adopt. You're going to adopt. Again, this goes to the marriage thing, and and the commitment that you're making. But I would assume you got to think about whether you want to adopt or not. Is that a good idea? If things don't work out, you already got one kind of contract. Do you want that other one? Listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm telling you what to think about and be critical thinkers about where you want to go, and think about what you got to think about. So, is it worthy? And I know people who have adopted their kids, and the fathers were in their lives. The father said, "You got it," and they adopted them. I know numerous people who did that. A few of them. So you got to think about all that. You really got to think about all that. All right, everybody. I'll leave it off there. Much love and peace.